Well, I, of course, grew up in Birmingham, Alabama under Jim Crow, where I lived a completely segregated life until we moved to Denver. I didn't have a single white classmate until we moved to Denver when I was in 10th grade.
Really?
That's right, because the Alabama schools, despite of the fact of desegregation, the Alabama schools really didn't desegregate. And I remember, I think it was in 1967 or so, I had one white teacher at Druid High School in Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Has race in any way impacted your life in any negative way? Do you feel there's some place that you would be today had you not been born someone who happens to be a woman and happens to be black?
No, I'm very fortunate. As you said, I have had a blessed life. And I don't think that race or gender have gotten in the way, but it doesn't mean that they haven't impacted on my life.
Yeah, I like to hear somebody tell a story that, yeah, I'm black, but yet I can achieve just as much as anybody else born on this planet.
I do believe that, and I grew up believing that. In the little community in which I grew up in Birmingham, Alabama, that's what the kids were taught. We were taught, by the way, you might have to be twice as good.
Have you experienced racism that you can recall?
Of course.
Give us a situation.
Well, I can give you a situation when I was a little girl, and then I'll give you one when I was older. When I was a little girl, my mother and I went to shopping at a store, and I was going to buy my little Easter dress, and the sales clerk pointed us to a storeroom to try on the dress. And my mother said, "My daughter's not trying that on in a storeroom." My parents really did take what was must have been a very difficult situation for parenting. You know, segregated Birmingham, Alabama, colored-only fountains. You couldn't go to the fairgrounds. You couldn't go to the movies. You couldn't go to a restaurant. And you could see how a child can internalize that as something's wrong with me. But instead, they made it something's wrong with them, and you can still be president if you want. I probably have, at one level, a better understanding, or perhaps let me say a more personal understanding of what the dark side of human beings can look like. I remember very well in 1963 when Birmingham was so violent, when it acquired the name Bombingham, that even with my wonderfully protective family, you had to wonder, why are they doing this to us? And on the other hand, I have a great faith in the ability of people to triumph over the dark side of human beings. It continues to surprise. It continues to renew itself. It continues to beat all odds and expectations. You just know that Americans are not going to be satisfied until they really do form that perfect union. And while the perfect union may never be in sight, we just keep working at it and trying. And I just want to close on a personal note. As an African American, I'm especially proud because this is a country that's been through a long journey in terms of overcoming wounds and making race not the factor in our lives. That work is not done, but yesterday was obviously an extraordinary step forward.